By Jim Heinz and Daria Litvinova, Associated Press Moscow. Thousands of supporters of imprisoned Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny crowded into central Moscow on Wednesday as part of nationwide demonstrations calling for his freedom, as his health reportedly is in severe decline while on a hunger strike. Over 400 people were arrested across the country in connection with the protests, according to a human rights group that monitors political repression. Many were seized before the protests even began, including 2 top Navalny associates in Moscow. Navalny's team called for the unsanctioned demonstrations after weekend reports that his health is deteriorating. The situation with Alexei is indeed critical, and so we moved up the day of the mass protests, Vladimir Ashurkov, a close Navalny ally and executive director of the Foundation for Fighting Corruption, told the Associated Press. Alexei's health has sharply deteriorated, and he is in a rather critical condition. Doctors are saying that judging by his test results, he should be admitted into intensive care. Navalny's organization called for the Moscow protesters to assemble on Manege Square, just outside the Kremlin walls, but police blocked it off. Instead, a large crowd gathered at the nearby Russian State Library and another line Tverskaya Street, a main avenue that leads to the square. In St. Petersburg, police blocked off Palace Square, the vast space outside the Hermitage Museum, and protesters instead crowded along nearby Nevsky Prospect. There were no comprehensive reports of turnout throughout the country, and it was unclear if the demonstrations would match the size and intensity of nationwide protests that broke out in January after Navalny, President Vladimir Putin's most prominent opponent, was arrested. The OVD Info Group, which tracks political arrest, reported 413 arrests in 60 cities. Navalny's team called the nationwide protests for the same day that Putin gave his annual State of the Nation address. In his speech, he denounced foreign governments' alleged attempts to impose their will on Russia. Putin, who never publicly uses Navalny's name, did not specify to whom the denunciation referred, but Western governments have been harshly critical of Navalny's treatment and have called for his release. In Moscow, Navalny spokeswoman Kira Yarmysh and Lyubov Sobol, one of his most prominent associates, were detained by police in the morning. Yarmysh, who was put under house arrest after the January protests, was detained outside her apartment building when she went out during the 1 hour she is allowed to leave, said her lawyer, Veronika Polyakova. She was taken to a police station and charged with organizing an illegal gathering. Sobol was removed from a taxi by uniformed police, said her lawyer, Vladimir Voronin. OVD Info reported that police searched the offices of Navalny's organization in Yekaterinburg and detained a Navalny-affiliated journalist in Khabarovsk.